Welcome back. You're watching CNN News 18 with me, Griha. Now, we are getting some breaking news amid the war between Israel and Hamas. Now, there are latest developments coming in as the Israeli President Isaac Herzog has now told Sky News that Hamas is preparing chemical weapons. He, in fact, went on to show documents to Sky News that were replete with diagrams on the same. And according to the Israeli president, this is official Al-Qaeda material that showed how to build a weapon with cyanide. My colleague Abhishek Jha is joining us now with more details. Abhishek, this entire accusation by Israel of talking about Hamas, which is akin to organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, has been doing the rounds ever since. But this is fresh material that the president has now spoken about of Hamas really working on chemical weapons. What more details do we have about it?
Well, it can be understood with the fact that Hamas doesn't have the capability to take on Israeli army head-on. So they will resort to some tactics or some illicit way where they can, inflict major casualties or injury on the Israeli forces. And chemical weapon could be a part of the strategy of Hamas because they cannot compete with the area superiority or the, territorial compatibility with, modern tanks that the Israeli government have, especially, and also the naval assets of, US, UK and other countries which are there in Mediterranean Sea to support the, any counteroffensive that the Israeli government has been launching. So this has been a concern of Israel since the beginning of this counteroffensive that Hamas may use some chemical weapons against Israeli forces, and in that context, this statement by the Israeli president should be read. So far, there has not been any proof that Hamas has prepared or Hamas is going to launch it, but Israeli government is not leaving any options open, and they are preparing themselves for any eventuality, any kind of attack that the Hamas may inflict upon Israelis or Israeli soldiers, especially in the wake of 7th October attack. They are being very guarded and very, defense. The entire defense line has become very fortified, and they are preparing for all sort of attack that could be chemical, biological, or any other attack as well.
Right, Abhishek, thank you so much for all of those details. We're continuing to keep our focus on this mega conflict that has been erupting out of the Middle East for some time now. This is the Israel-Hamas war that continues to escalate. Now what has happened is that China has sent 6 warships to the Middle East, while the United States of America has deployed 2 carrier strike groups to the Middle East as well. In fact, US President Joe Biden has spoken with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding following international laws of war. Biden has also reaffirmed support for what he's called a 2-state solution. Israel, remember, has been ramping up its aerial bombardment of Gaza Strip and has called for civilians in Gaza to leave the northern parts of the Strip and move down south. Remember, Israel is also preparing for ground operations in Gaza, and worries now loom large over this turning into a regional conflict, which is a 2-front battle, which has already opened up from Lebanon and Gaza, and a minor clash was also reported from Yemen by the Houthi rebels. In fact, Russia's foreign minister, and this is the latest development, he in fact will be heading to Iran now.
A second contributor to volatility is conflict in a globalized world, where consequences spread far beyond the immediate geography. We have already experienced this in respect of Ukraine. The ripple impact of what is taking place right now in the Middle East is still not entirely clear. Now, these particular cases may be headline news, but in different regions there are smaller happenings whose impact is not inconsequential. In the domain of violence, there is also the less formal version, if you would, that is very pervasive. I speak here of terrorism, which has long been honed and practiced as a tool of statecraft. The basic takeaway for all of us is that given the seamlessness of our existence, any expectation that conflicts and terrorism can be contained in their impact is no longer tenable. A big part of this is clearly economic. but do not underestimate the danger of metastasis when it comes to radicalism and extremism. No danger is too distant anymore.
Destroying Hamas is non-negotiable. How we do it, let's talk. What is winning? For the terrorist organization to be destroyed, for the people of Israel to have a sense of peace they've lost, for the Palestinian people to have hope they don't have, and for the Arabs and the Israelis to end a conflict that would make the world better. Why now? You'll never convince me that this is not about reconciliation between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The Iranians, through their proxy Hamas, unleashed holy hell on Israel to stop the march toward a better Mideast and a better world.
The border between Israel and Lebanon, Rosh Hanikra in the west, and about 120 kilometers or 80 miles all the way up to the triangle of borders between Israel, Syria, and Lebanon, which is around this area. What Hezbollah has been doing over the last days is to escalate the situation. Hezbollah has been attacking Israeli positions. For instance, massive anti-tank fire towards Israeli military positions here and here in these areas, as well as anti-tank fire towards communities like this community here and a kibbutz in this area here. Unfortunately, there have been both civilian and military casualties as a result of Hezbollah fire.